Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with Katie, but this is not from our normal spot. We are in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now. We're in the basement of the Airbnb, and we are going home in the morning. And so we've been kind of going 100% the last couple of days. Lots of stuff. It's been so hot. So we're a little tired. So we're in our jammies, and we're kind of going to make this video horse show themed, with questions that are about the NSBA World that we were just at, some from y'all, some from Abigail and Nate, and just things that are all about that. So let's get into it. I guess let's
just do like a recap, I guess, of why we're here, what we've done, that type of thing.
Yeah. So we came here specifically for the yearling sale, which Petey and Finn sold in. We came here to see Denver because Denver, while he's not showing, is just here to ride and stay in training. And, you know, there's lots of people that I only see at horse shows. So that kind of stuff. And we had a great time doing it. And now we're decompressing. And we told ourselves and kind of put ourselves in a pickle where we had to film one of these. And so now it's the end of the day after dinner of the last day. And we're like, okay.
I mean, we made Nate bring like the biggest suitcase in existence to be able to film this, so couldn't really cancel it.
And we like have nothing for Monday if we don't. So we were kind of guilt tripped into doing this, but I think it's still fine. We've started, so we're good. But yeah, so I guess if there's any, we didn't get rapid fire questions. No rapid fire this time, maybe.
Maybe we'll just think of some like on the spot.
Rapidly.
If you will. This is a me question.
Okay.
How do you know what horses will be best for what type of showing? Like, just by looking at them. Like, I know when we see, like, the bigger ones, you're usually like, oh, English riding or hunter under saddle. But in terms of, like, I guess the Western stuff, how do you know just by looking at them, like, what they're going to be good at?
That's like a loaded question because, like, let's say the yearling sale. We saw so many come through, like 100 and something of them. And, you know, as a yearling, they can look really good as a yearling and then turn out to not be that great. Or they could look like an ugly duckling as a yearling and then turn out to be, like, the best thing ever as they mature.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just do what's in front of you at that point of, like, their conformation, like how they're built, their movement, like how they process things even as yearlings. So, like, their mentality. So for the Western stuff, the Western Pleasure and the Western Allaround specifically, I'm not scared of size. So I'm okay with a bigger yearling or like a bigger horse. I'm taller, so I always preferred bigger horses. But this is just coming from me, you want a really nice, deep, strong rear end. Like their hock drives up underneath them well, but you don't want it to overpower their front end. You want a balance between their rear end and their front end. You want a nice light front leg. You don't want too short of a stride, even in the Western. You want a good natural cadence. So, like, without someone helping them on their back. You want them to be able to carry themselves well. You want them to be able to handle, you know, like all those little babies that were in the sale. Like, some of them were spooked. And, like, so they should be. It was so loud and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of them were, like, super chill. And that, you know, might not be the best representation because some of them might have had more experience at shows than others. But, you know, it kind of shows their good-mindedness. And then you can get down to the nitty-gritty and look at, you know, past performance. You can look at their actual structure and their feet and their, you know, how much bone they have and how well they keep weight and their top line. And there's like all those things. So there's a lot of factors for a Western horse. I would say you would want less motor, meaning like Denver doesn't want to go fast.
Yeah.
Like, he prefers to go slow. So, like, for that type of stuff, it's like...
Speaking of that, a lot of... Under the video, you posted riding him.
Okay.
A lot of people... I guess I'm going to say, a lot of people were confused, I guess, at why he was going so slow. So I guess if you want to just kind of explain like what that was or like when you would be doing that on him.
So he's a Western pleasure horse, but we are very hopeful that he is going to do well in the Western riding and the trail, which for those things, you do want a little more forward moving lope than you would in the Western pleasure, covering a little more ground, which he has a longer stride. But sometimes it looks mechanical or too slow in the midst of training. So like he's not finished yet. But like what I was riding him in was like a Western pleasure lope. And the whole basis of Western pleasure is for it to be pleasurable, for it to be slow, for it to be, honestly, Western pleasure is such a good foundation for an all-around horse. It teaches them how to hold their bodies. Some people don't like it, and that's the thing. And that's why I did that video with Bo a long time ago about, like, it's the same as a canter. It is a 3-beat motion. They're not crippled because they're going that slow. It's like a trained thing. It's also bred into them to want to go slower.
Yeah.
To have that deeper hock and that, be able to drive up underneath themselves that way and lift in the front end.
So it's not like he's wanting to go fast and you're making him slow down. Like there's a
little bit of training into that. Like when you first ride them, but if you watch like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old Western pleasure horse being broke, like their first ride versus a reiner or a barrel horse, stark difference. Like stark difference on the speed they want to go. And it's bred into them for sure. And there's going to be your oddballs that don't fall into that. But like Bo was bred for barrels.
But he's just slow and lazy.
Yeah.
What was Annie bred for? Because just saying slow and lazy made me think of her.
She was bred for the Western pleasure and all around.
Okay, so it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, her mom was a pleasure horse and her dad was a hunter under saddle horse. I was trying to breed because her mom was kind of small and I wanted an all-arounder, and I'm taller, so I wanted one a little bit bigger. And so I bred her to a larger stallion. It was in a bigger recip mare because it was embryo transfer. And so Hot and Blazing is her sire, who was huge, but he himself had Western breeding. He has the same dad as Code Red. So there was like Western breeding, but like size was there. And so anyway, that was the thought process when breeding Annie. And so she very much came out more Western.
Mm-hmm.
But
so all-arounder is like you could do anything with them.
Yes. And like when I was growing up and showing, because I'm tall and because I gravitated more towards the English stuff, all of my all-arounders were, let me put it this way. Usually an all-arounder is one that started out in either Western pleasure or English, like the hunter saddle. Like they start off in one of the two, because those are the foundation classes where it's based on their movement. And so usually they start in one or the other. And then if they're not a specialty horse, like they're not good enough to only do that one job the rest of their life, which is so rare, they go on to do the all-around. And so all of mine started off in the hunter under saddle. They were bigger. And then went on to do the other stuff, which is like horsemanship, showmanship, equitation, Western riding, all those things.
You prefer Western pleasure, is that right?
I prefer the hunter under saddle.
Okay. But you're planning to do
I've never done a Western pleasure. It's going to be a neat thing.
Yeah.
But like Penelope, Daphne, they're all going to be hunter under saddle horses.
So that's not like the sparkly show clothes. That's like the little
that's the
suit.
English. The little suit.
The little suit and pants. I like that better. I think that it's, at least for me, I like watching that better.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because that's what Hank was in. He watched the Congress last year.
Yeah. I guess because they're bigger. It's just, I don't know. For some reason it looks
I
better.
gravitate towards that. I just don't have a baby ready for that. So it's like, I really like Denver, and Denver's big. He's 16 hands. And so that's why we really think he's going to be amazing in the Western riding and trail. But he can be crossed with like Trudy and Indy and Sophie and my big mares. And while like Sophie's pretty big, like some of her babies are kind of gangly because they're so tall. Denver could bring in some like refinement to that and like beefiness to the thoroughbred genes she has. So it's a good little like combo.
So, do you want to give like a recap of kind of the sale, or do you want to just?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
You know, haters gonna hate.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so after or a lot of people came to watch the sale. I didn't expect that. I didn't know that people were going to show up just to watch my horses, which a lot of people were respectful. I didn't see anyone being disrespectful.
I didn't either.
I saw comments of people being mad that people showed up. And I didn't personally see anyone being disrespectful. If that happened, it was not something we saw.
No.
I just saw people like waited till it was over.
Like
they
very
sat
respectfully waited through the entire thing for hours. Time. And then waited for us to get up before, yeah.
So that's the only part I experienced people coming to the sale, which was fine. I totally, I enjoy meeting people. And so very respectful from what I saw. And so Petey and Finn, they didn't sell for what the internet thought they would. And to be honest, their combined price is lower than what I've sold weanlings for, and each of them sold for less than what I turned down for them as weanlings. So I was a little disappointed as well. Who wouldn't be if they're, yearlings sold for less? But if you watch the entire sale, yes, there was one that sold for $100. There was some that sold for $60 or $50 or whatever. But as a whole, the sale was lower. There was definitely a lot of really, really nice babies selling for like $6,000, $5,000. I mean, there was one that was super nice for like $3,000.
Yeah.
So you never know, and it's a gamble anytime you put one in this type of sale. But the NSBA yearling sale is such a good tool for breeders like me, especially, or people going to look for prospects, because you might get lucky and get a good deal if you're shopping. Mm-hmm. Or if you're a breeder like me and even those that don't have a newer breeding program, it gets your horses seen. It gets your horses into show hands. And it makes them eligible for a lot more money in the long run, because the NSBA sale has, they have to go through the sale to be eligible for this certain money classes. Mm-hmm. So then, in turn, that gives me, the mare owner, that bred them, a higher chance of my foals going and winning money, which then makes my mare more proven, which, and so it helps out. It's kind of like taking a hit for the long run.
Yeah. I saw a lot of comments, not in a negative way, just saying that they were really surprised because they didn't realize that you haven't been breeding very long. Your parents have, right, but you specifically taking over most of the breeding program.
My parents have bred for a long time, mm-hmm, but when I was little, it was foundation quarter horses that were more for ranch stuff and barrel racing. And then we got into the futurity barrel racing stuff. We had a couple of mares. It wasn't big scale, 2 mares. Mm-hmm. And we did futurity barrel colts and fillies. And we had a trainer that we owned this mare with. And so that they would take them off to futurities and we'd go watch them compete and run. And so we did barrel horses. And even when I was showing the Allaround and the Hunter Saddle and the Pleasure, we had these barrel mares. We didn't have any Western Pleasure mares or anything like that. And so the first actual Allaround / Western Pleasure baby we had was Annie. And that was when it was 2015. So I was 19? Yeah, I was 19. And then after that, we went until 2019, which in that time period, that 4 years, we foaled out for other people.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of people that would bring mares to us and we'd foal out for them. So we had babies every year, but it just wasn't ours. And then we had Beyonce's first baby, because Beyonce, we had been showing her. Oop, that's unprofessional of me.
And who was her first baby?
Frankie, which Frankie passed away tragically in a pasture accident at 2 weeks old. Literally, what a freak thing.
Yeah.
We had Beyonce out in the pasture with her. It was a sunny day. She was running around in circles, having a great time. Beyonce is grazing, runs into the fence, breaks her neck. How do you prevent that?
Yeah.
So freak thing. Mm-hmm. Gives me chills to think about. It was just so dumb. So it was a machine-made filly. Just so sad in his earliest years when he was first coming up. So it was she could be 5 years old right now and just killing it. And so that put us back a year because that was our only baby that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year we had Stevie. We had 2 foals that year, which was Ethel's first foal that passed away. We had a rough couple of years, which we thought was a fluke thing. Found out later it wasn't. But her colt passed away, so we had 1 baby that year, which was Stevie. And Stevie's 4, still young, but she's Beyonce's like first foal technically to be in training and hasn't made it to the show pen. And so Beyonce, you know, isn't proven, even though she did well in the shows. And while her sister's a super horse and like, you know, we are breeding to the same studs that mare's been bred to, like Beyonce's still not technically proven as a producer. And then Ginger was next. Freaking hurts herself in the pasture. Beautiful mare. Literally super high selling weanling from her and as her first baby. Like she's a mega producer already as a 3-year-old. And then after that, it's just 2-year-olds. Like after that, we have a lot of babies, but they're not showing. They're not showable. And so while Beyonce, it's like I see a lot of potential in her babies. At that sale, you know, people are seeing an unproven mare. Even though I see how good her babies are, technically speaking,
people don't know.
Yeah. And there's a lot of gambling already with buying a yearling without also gambling on the fact that mare hasn't technically produced anything. And so Beyonce was really our first like pivotal mare to add to the breeding program. And then we did Ethel, which we have since put her with the reset mares. And then after that, we added Trudy. Trudy was godsend, amazing addition to the Broodmare brand. So Trudy's first baby was in 2021, and that was only 3 babies that year. That was like Ginger, Piper, and Hank. And that was the first year that I started sharing on TikTok. And so, yeah, it's new. Like, for this type of babies, this caliber of babies, the quantity of babies, it's very new. Very baby breeding program. So, yeah, I guess some people might not have realized, even though we've been breeding for forever.
Yeah.
Like, we got to make our name for ourselves.
Right. They just, I think they assume since you have, I guess since you're so well known in the horse world.
I mean, that's just new, though.
I know, but
yeah,
I think the people that follow you, you know, kind of assume that it's just a breeding program that's been established for a long time.
And, you know, even so, like, even with, like, we'll come to the horse shows and I say hi to everybody. Like, there's so many people I know here.
Yeah.
But even then, I was a youth kid. I had old crippled geldings that we would, like, you know, the way we could buy them was they were kind of almost done with their show career. Like, I would get them at 15.
Yeah.
Like, these horses are so expensive at this top level. And so I never had a horse that we paid more than, and this is going to sound like a lot to say, like, I don't want to make this sound like I'm not saying it's a lot of money. $20,000 is a lot of money. But when it comes to a show horse, and a show horse you're going to show at the World Championship show, the Congress, it's really not for a finished show horse. And so I'm competing against $500,000 horses, competing against $250,000 horses, you know? And so that's what we had when I was showing. And we made work, and we put the money into the care of them and to, you know, help the longevity of their show careers. So like Calvin, who's my heart horse and my like long-term show partner, I got him when he was 16, showed him for 5 years. And so, like, that's when I was heaviest in the show, you know, show pen. But, I mean, that was, the last time I showed Calvin was 2016. I mean, that's been a long time ago now. How old were you in 2016?
15.
4 or 5.
15.
15.
Yep. I was a freshman in high school. How old were you, Nate?
Grown man.
22 or 3.
So me now.
You're going to, never mind.
No, you don't have to leave that in. That was just for you.
Do we tell?
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I mean, I guess however offensive people find flipping the bird is.
Yeah.
If you find flipping the bird to your friends super offensive, then you're not going to like this.
It's just a backwards.
So we do it backwards, though. So usually, I'm going to use my pinky for this, okay?
We do that as well.
Maybe I'll use my pointer finger. I'll use my pointer finger. Okay. So usually when you flip the bird to somebody, it's like, just a little. Well, we do this.
It's just somehow more offensive because
So
it's
annoying.
just so stupid and annoying. Especially like I'm doing it like this.
like a little rock back of your wrist.
It is just like the most annoying thing. I don't know why.
Whenever, because they're all freaking mouthy. Nate, Matt, Jonathan. It's just like,
I think it started because we were talking about like how mad you would be if like someone drove past you and like flipped you the bird, but instead of just this, it's just and we all found that that would make us so much angrier for no reason.
oh my gosh.
Anyway,
What was the question? I don't know.
I was gonna see if Nate had any questions or if you had any questions you wanted to ask me because you said you did.
Okay. What's been your biggest horse show revelation from your first one, which was the Congress, biggest show of the dang year, to the NSBA World? It's been almost a year. What's been your biggest, I don't know, what have you learned that you didn't know? Or I don't know, just give us some thoughts from first to now.
I mean, I was just like completely clueless at the Congress. Like that was the first time I'd ever watched any type of showing at all. And so I would say like coming into this one after going to 3 before this or 2 before this.
I think 2.
2 before this, I felt like I knew more of like what good things we were looking for when we were watching. Still not great at it because
Y'all pick, there was one instance.
we tried to pick like the winners and we were just so far off. But
here's the thing, I know why you picked the horses you picked. And I agreed to some extent on some things. It's a judged event. It's not scored,
Right.
So
I would say that, and I love seeing just how normal it is for dogs to just be walking around everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's just not something I ever thought, I didn't think that happened.
They're like community dogs.
Yeah. And the segways and the little scooters and things, how it's just so normal for people to just be going over bumpy dirt on those and just never lose their footing is crazy.
Okay, so you saw how far it was for us just to get from one barn to the arena I was riding Denver in.
Yeah.
Add in going back to the trailer a few times a day, which is in a whole other parking lot. And then honestly, Tulsa, that showgrounds isn't as spread out nearly as the Congress or even OKC. It's not near as bad. And
just the distance that we had to walk from the car at the Congress was
it was a lot.
So much further than anywhere we walked here.
So that's why I never got good on the segways. That was after my youth.
Yeah.
That was a revolution that I'm glad I wasn't a part of. Because I would have probably eaten it.
They scare me.
Died.
Yeah.
But, we always had to have a golf cart or something because you're hauling stuff. Up to the arena, even if at the Congress, there's all these barns. I remember they're called the swine barn that we stayed in. We were never in the fancy Gilligan.
Yeah.
But this from the swine barn to the Celeste to show. Sometimes it would be pouring rain, and you're trying to take your horse up. You got the cooler on your horse. It's saddled. You're taking up the ready bag. You've got the person that's showing that's ready, hair slicked back, makeup on, outfit that costs a gajillion dollars on. And you got to have a golf cart, even if you rent one. Big Teal's got to come to the next one. That's what we've been.
Big Teal is
Big
the
Turk.
name. Big Turk, otherwise known as Big Teal.
That's what we've been calling the golf cart.
She won't be coming with us this year
Not this year.
No. Unfortunately.
not this year, but like, let's say, because right now all my horses are at the trainer, so I won't be hauling any horses like I used to. But if it's one that's relatively close and we're not flying, just take Big Turk with us.
Yeah.
Little trailer behind us.
Nate,
So,
any input, questions?
Mic yourself up so that you can ask it. Interview him with your mic. Like, just like
Okay.
up.
What would be the best way to learn about horses coming from somebody who doesn't know anything and watching them walk and move and them all looking exactly the same to me most of the time?
You've picked up on a lot.
I have picked up on a lot, but it's still so similar to me. I have to stare and I have to watch one foot.
And that's also like, it's different for you because you've been only to the big shows. So like when you're watching the finals of the World Show, they all look good or they all look to the standard. So that's why like the differences are so minute.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But like if we go to the county fair where there's a wide variety of levels, you might be able to tell a big difference. You know, like when there's going to be some people that have never been in that class in their life and they're just taking their horse in there for fun. And then there's the people that maybe love to do it, but their horse isn't up to par. And then there's the people that actually have a horse trained for that. Like there's like all these differences, but when you go to the best of the best, it's going to be hard. So give yourself some grace on that one. But that is hard. And that's kind of why, like, there really isn't a place, like, I'm sure there's some YouTube videos, but like, you really have to turn to social media for opinions. It's literally opinions on that. And so if you're not able to go get real world experience by going to horse shows and having someone to ask, you're limited. You're limited to other people's opinions and just taking their word for it. And so that's why I feel like TikTok and I feel like, you know, other forms of social media like that have been such a good tool for people that haven't had the access to that. And that's always been like a big, anytime I have an interview, like that's kind of what I say about my channel is that I don't want to gatekeep horses and I don't want to gatekeep the knowledge of things that I had because I just grew up with parents that wanted to do it. But that's like so rare.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't think there's necessarily a great answer for that yet of where to go to. But I think we're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one. You said, one, we should go to the county fair. I think that would be fun and educational for me. 2, you said real world so smoothly. I always struggle with that, like real world.
Real world?
You said, you know, when you don't have real world experience. And I was like, she just didn't even think
But
of
you
it.
just did it.
Real world. Will world.
Real world.
well.
I thought of another question while he
Okay.
was talking.
Okay. So you weren't listening to him. You were thinking about your own
Yes.
things.
I was planning my next move. So this show that we're at right now,
Yes.
it's the NSBA
Yes.
World Show,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So what is the difference between this show and the one that's happening in November that we've also been referring to as the World Show?
Okay.
Is it the AQHA World Show?
Yes.
Okay, so this is paints or any.
It's all stock breeds.
Okay.
So it's Appaloosas, quarter horses, paints. I think, don't quote me, I think POAs are a part of NSBA, which is like a Appaloosa pony breed that I grew up showing. So it's kind of the only place on this level for all of those breeds to come show against each other, which is really neat. I think it's definitely more quarter horses than anything, but there's plenty of paints in there. There's plenty. And it also is so easy for trainers because there's so many trainers out there that show both quarters and paints and they're just strung out between like, oh, well, the paint world is at the same time as this quarter horse show. And there's, you know, and so they can bring all their horses together at one place. So it's
Yeah.
cool. But yes, November is AQHA World Show. And it's not just that. It's so like at this NSBA World Show, there's youth, there's open, amateur, select, like there's all ages. Whereas the one we're going to in November is the open and amateur World Show. So no youth.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it's like,
It's the big dogs.
yeah. Okay.
Just kidding. The youth world is so freaking stiff. Like, it is so hard because, okay, think about this. As an amateur, like, most of the time, mommy and daddy ain't paying your bills anymore. So there's like this gap of people who are super established and can afford the nice horses and can afford to go show all the time and whatever. And then there's like the people that are straight out of college and they're off the tit and they're like struggling to go to a couple horse shows a year.
Yeah.
The youth, and this isn't for everyone, but when you're talking about like this like little sect up here that is like winning everything, it's think about this of why they'd be so good. They don't have like they're children.
They don't have jobs.
They don't have jobs after school. Like the only thing they have to do is go work and like work on themselves
Right.
and showing.
But it's
And-
not like, this is my job, I need to do this to make money. Like,
You
so
love
there's
it.
not as much pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's not the pressure of like, and again, don't take this so literally. I'm sure there are some kids that have jobs, okay?
Yeah.
But in general, you have more time to train. You have, I mean, you're just younger. It's easier for your body. It's easier for everything. And like whether people think it or not, horse riding is very hard on your body. And I mean, a lot of them, it's on mommy and daddy's dime, which is fine.
Yeah.
I did that. Like, that's totally cool. But usually mommy and daddy have a bigger budget than you straight out of college or you straight,
Yeah.
And so usually you have those like super finished show horses. Again, at the top, not talking about always. You have those super finished show horses. You have, or your mom's show horse that you're showing in the youth that is just went and won the world in the junior
Yeah.
Western Pleasure.
So you
or,
kind of have a leg up.
Yeah. So there's that too at the youth world. So I never discount the youth. They are
No,
awesome.
I don't know that of any of the shows that we've been to that we've sat and watched a youth.
Right. I don't think we have either.
No.
Because we've always been watching, like Hank was the open and stuff. So it's always been trainer
Yeah.
classes.
I'd be interested in watching that.
If there's, because we're going to the Congress, we'll
Yeah.
see what's being shown there. Because they do kind of have like youth week because they only have so much time off school. So what? He has his hand up.
Is it really a world show?
Yes.
What makes it a world show?
So it's hosted in the United States, but you're like the whole world is invited with their quarter horses and you can qualify. So I remember when I was in at the Youth World, they would have a night where like a ceremony of like you'd walk through with your state or country. And so obviously the United States, we do it by state. And then there would be tons of different countries. Like I remember like Germany, Great Britain, Canada, Sweden, there was Israel, there was like all kinds of stuff. Now, is it going to be Australia? There's tons of Australian quarter horse people. Are there people flying their horses in? Probably not. It's mostly people that will have a horse here in the United States. And then they come from their country and show it here. Like they have it with a trainer here. Mostly, I would
got you.
say.
I was just
So
thinking, like baseball World Series. It's really just the U.S. and like one team from Canada.
I will say it's prominent. It's most prominent. It's the American quarter horse.
Right.
So it's most prominent in the U.S.
But there are many countries that come in.
Oh, yeah.
It is a world show.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, I'm out.
Okay. I have another question. Why is the Congress considered more of a prestigious, one of the more prestigious shows than like the AQHA World Show or like the show we're at now, the NSBA show?
I would say in the quarter horse world, these are the three shows that are like top.
Okay.
Then there are like the majors. There's the Sun Circuit, the Silver Dollar Circuit, the Red Bud, the Big A. Like there's this lineup of big shows that aren't necessarily the World Show or the Congress. But the Congress, it's not a world show. You don't have to qualify. You don't have, it's kind of just whoever wants to come. It has the most entries. So by default, having the most people, it's very difficult, which makes winning it prestigious. Also, it's one of the only quarter horse shows that's not the world show that has like all the classes. It has so many futurities as well for like money and whatnot. So it starts off with reining. It's got all the reining, big reiners come per year. It's got all the cow horse stuff. It's got roping and head like the heading and heeling. It's got sorting. It's got all the ranch stuff. It's got the Western pleasure in all age groups. It's got barrel racing, pole bending, like everything the quarter horse does, jumping, everything the quarter horse does wrapped up into the show. It takes a month to do it because there are so many people. So from the sheer volume of people that come to this show and then the amount that the Ohio Quarter Horse Association puts into this show, it brings like, I don't know the figure, it brings to Columbus every year millions of dollars to their economy. Like it's a huge piece of the Columbus economy. And so it's just been going on for 50 something years at this point, and it has just gained a really good reputation. And because of the sheer volume of people you're competing against, even though there's no qualification, that's why when you say my horse won the Congress, you're like, damn.
Yeah, because the reason I was asking is because a lot of the times when you'll be referring to a baby and you're referring to, you know, their parents, it's almost always 2 times Congress champion, 2-time world champion, and
Right.
you don't really ever hear anything else.
And, you know, like, you will, those are just the most well-known.
Yeah.
When you really get down to the nitty-gritty and when you know all the shows, and like last night at the sale, you heard them say, like, Beyonce, my mare, she had won X amount of dollars at the Southern Belle Breeders for, which I think that is actually the Congress, but they would say other things like the Tom Powers futurity. Like there's all these futurities throughout the year. There's all these different big shows. So whenever you're seeing a horse listed for sale that has like won a bunch of the Arizona Sun Circuit that year, like they'll be like, it was just a circuit champion at the Arizona Sun Circuit, which is a huge deal, you know? So yeah. Okay. So my question for y'all again is the best part of the trip, this trip so far specifically. He's going first.
I got it. My favorite part of the trip was I'd never been to a horse auction. I've been to other auctions, and they were calm. This was a totally different experience. There's tables. The auctioneer's going 100 miles an hour, and there's these guys in white shirts and cowboy hats and red ties just moseying around the outside of the round pen, screaming.
It wasn't all of them. It was just ours.
Yeah, it was just our guy.
It was just ours.
But our guy was my favorite part of the whole trip because from the first scream, it just knocks you back in your seat. I wasn't ready.
He loved his job.
Who's getting the energy up?
He was making people spend money.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'll put a clip of him up so you can just get a hint of what we're talking about. But experiencing that was my favorite part of the trip because I had never experienced it before. I would say close second has just been the group hangouts, the team bonding.
We always have a good time on these trips where we're
really
just like
do.
in an Airbnb and not in a hotel room, and we're like able to chill at night.
Yeah, just the hanging out is very grateful to just be able to hang out.
Good team building.
Yeah. So those are my favorite parts. But if the question was, what is my biggest regret? I have one too. The biggest regret is there was a horse that came into the round pen, and the auctioneer starts going crazy. And I'm expecting, man, this horse looks great. Lot number 58. I think everybody's looking forward to this. And I think it's going to go crazy like a lot of the other horses had. But it didn't. And it went up to 1,600 and kind of stalled out. And I'm thinking to myself, I got to buy this horse, right?
He was like, I'm going to do it.
We're in my price range, kind of. I'm like, who can I split it with? And I'm like, I think she can split it with me, but I don't know how much it costs to get home. I don't even know how you get it home.
It would cost more to get it home than what you would pay for it.
And that's what I was thinking. And I don't.
Afterwards, we were like, we could have combined our per diem.
What per diem? That's No, you don't get per diem.
Jonathan gave us a per diem.
Jonathan.
But the problem was he said it didn't roll over. And so we
Yeah,
couldn't
we only had
combine
that
it.
days.
So we only had that day's worth of per diem.
He would tell you about
Cover it.
the per diem the day after.
I didn't know what to do with it. Afterwards, I didn't have a place to keep it, and I was like, Katie will keep it. Just kidding, it's gelding. She only has girls, but it's $1,600. Do I figure it out? And I didn't pull the trigger, and I think that was my path, and I missed it.
Biggest regret so far in life.
That was it.
Oh no. He's gonna be thinking about lot 58.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Was it 58? Are we sure?
No.
Not positive at all.
We're not sure.
Not sure at all.
That's what he thinks it was. But there was also like 110 babies in there.
I don't think I have any regrets. I really liked our travel day. I don't know why. I thought our travel day was really fun.
Our travel day.
I liked it. We were all just hanging out on the plane, like reading our little books, and then
We won't tell you which one it is. We forced Nate into reading a what would you call it?
a
nasty book.
women's fantasy book.
And so we made him, and he still has not abided by what he promised. He said 100 pages because we needed him to get through page 80 to embarrass him. And he only made it through like the entry level of it and got scared. So he stopped. But we were going to make him on the plane tomorrow continue. So that was funny. Sheer horror.
I liked that day, and then I liked last night. We were just in here. We watched a movie. One of my favorite movies.
I literally
Not everyone paid attention to it, but me and Nate had a good time watching it.
My donkey had just been born. That missed the recap.
Your favorite show got canceled.
My favorite show got canceled. My foals sold for less than what it cost to bring them there. Like
I think
I was distraught.
but you kept it together really well. We tried our best to keep the mood up last night.
Like when I was laying there and we were watching this movie and I was already like, I missed Dolly's birth, like, all this stuff. And then I just like first TikTok I see open the app, My Lady Jane canceled. And I'm like, I'm gonna cry. Like that was the straw. That was it that did it. I was like, My Lady Jane being canceled was probably the worst of the news, honestly. And
it was the worst.
I
of
think
everything.
so.
Okay.
I was prepared for the other things.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that. Like,
Should not hit you when you were down.
I just reminded myself that it's being canceled, and I'm upset
We're gonna have to end here.
because I'm gonna go cry. But also the fact that we've talked so long sitting here. Partially, some of the batteries ran out, and Nate just lost all the footage because he wasn't paying attention. And then, and then partially, we've just been like yapping for a long time. So we probably just need to wrap it up. But this was more more hanging out on the couch in our jammies. Let me know what you thought of this kind of take on the Catching Up with Katie episodes. Usually, we're kind of like put together. I have on like 12-hour makeup put together, but like I'm in my jammies. And so if you like this better, it's probably be longer and we're a little less organized.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let us know what you think. I mean, we could kind of do both. We could every now and then do some like jammy sessions.
Yeah.
Some yapping. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions or like if you want more themed Catching Up with Katie's, where we like kind of stick to one topic. And if you do want that, like what topics? We need help. We need guidance. So I guess we're going to end it here. And we're about to play Lord of the Rings Monopoly. So hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.